Welcome back, welcome back. We have our second segment and we're joined by Dr. Sandra Grant, the Assistant Director for the Caribbean Regional Fisheries Mechanism, CRFM, Secretariat in Belize. And then we're also joined by Ralna Lam Lewis. She's the Assistant Country Director for Marine Wildlife Conservation Society. Welcome, guys. We're talking.
Good morning
Fisher
and
Folk Month.
welcome. Yes, we are talking Fisherfolk Month, and we are happy to have you both here with us.
Yes. Let's talk about, first of all, what's Fisherfolk Month for people who don't know.
Okay, so it's an initiative that we started back, I think, around 7 years ago. The idea behind it was for us to raise awareness about the importance of fisher folk in Belize, the hard work that they do, the contribution to our economy and to our society. So it started off with an award, and from that it evolved to having a series of activities for the month. So we usually start off the month going to the various media stations to talk about Fisherfolk Month. We have Fishers Fair. We usually have it in Dangriga for this year in particular. We have our Fisher of the Year award. We have a blessing of the boat activity as well, which is usually the 28th. We're doing it in Belize City at both the cooperatives, and we'll also be doing it this year at Dangriga at the start of, to mark the opening of the lobster season, which, you know, is one of the most lucrative season, and everyone looks forward to lobster season, lobster fest, and so on, right? And we're also having our 6th Women in Fisheries Forum this year, right, in Sartiniha, which we'll be talking about as well today.
You know, when I think about this industry where fisher folk work and they have given their lives to this livelihood, this job, it really a lot of times is looked upon as hard labor that, you know, it's not very glamorous, but I think people need to recognize that people build homes doing this, and it's not a cheap job either. Investing in a boat, your materials needed, and just, you know, securing your harvest from whatever you would have been able to catch. It's something that it takes investment just like any other industry. Let's talk about that. The work that it takes to be a fisher person.
I just wanted to, you made a very good point. The role of women in the fishing industry is invisible. We are not seen, we are not heard, you know, but we are in the background doing quite a bit of work. If you go to the fish markets, you see them scraping the fish, you see them as vendors. Before, we didn't know much about fishers actually working on vessels, you know. We thought it was just a man's job. There's a lot of women in the processing industry that they're unseen. So I think one of the things that we wanted to do with the Women in Fisheries is put a spotlight on the women. For one day out of June, we talk about just us. And we talk about what we do, what are some of our challenges, and we try to address some of the issues of the women.
You know, I'll use this opportunity to say that I have an aunt that's a fisherwoman, and I've known that to be her profession all my life. And I always wondered, man, how does she do it? Because she's there at the fish market, and everyone knows her, and she's respected just like all the other men. But there are very few women that you see, you know, that actually go out, catch the fish, clean the fish, do everything, you know. And that's something that does deserve recognition. So let's talk about the work that you both, you know, carry, the WCS and CRFM. Let's begin with you, Doctor.
Let's start at the national level. I'll have to give
Okay, so at WCS, as it pertains to fishing and the fisheries sector, our work has several aspects to it. We have a research station out at Middle Key, whereby we support a lot of monitoring and research work, which helps to inform some of the management decisions that are made nationally. You know, we do research and studies regarding conch, lobster, finfish, coral reef health, and so on. And in addition to that, we have a science team, and we also have our communities team, which does a lot of work within the communities, you know, ensuring that we have that engagement with our fishers. And that is like what Dr. Grant was saying, you know, for us a lot, we focused a lot on the men, because for us, for fishing, we see the capture fisheries component of it, those people out there fishing, whereas we might have over 1,000 males registered for commercial fishing. We have probably like 70 women registered. So for a long period of time, it wasn't that recognition. So when we had the inception of the MCAP project, the Marine Conservation and Climate Adaptation Project, that project brought the spotlight to women to other dimension of the fishing. We're instead of only focusing on that, but all the activities involved in the value chain for fisheries, right? So like I said, we do that component of it. And then we also have our communications component of it. I don't know if you guys have heard about Punta Fuego, right? So that was a big radio novela that we had, which brought a highlight again to fishers, to marine protected areas, the benefits that they provide, how do these things help support our fisheries sector. So that's some of the work that we are engaged in, as well as enforcement, looking at utilizing technology for enforcement, informing what we're doing out there. So when we do have enforcement activities, it's informed and it's based on intelligence. So those are some of the work that we're doing at WCS.
Before we go to you, Dr. Grant, just talk to us about the data that you have in terms of the women who work in this industry, because Dr. Grant made mention of it, that in the back end, in the value chain, it's primarily women that are the ones there prepping and all of that. So talk to us about that, in terms of the industry, the women.
I guess when you look globally, if we look at the sector, women make up about 50% of the workforce in fisheries. And just like Dr. Grant said, that's primarily in the processing aspect of it. So at your cooperatives, at your landing sites, you'll see women there within the communities as well. Women play a big role in terms of getting your gears ready. Some of them also involved in catching as well your bait, preparing the men to go fishing. They prepare for sales, they go and they get the sales.
They're the ones that deal with the money, is in the
Exactly.
background too. And another men deal with that.
That's why I said this sector builds homes. It sends children to school.
That's right.
And I mean, no offense to the men, but it's the women, I believe, that are the anchor of the movement. So I just had to say that, but continue.
Next to you, Dr. Grant, just in terms of from the regional perspective, how we deal with ensuring that, there are guidelines that Fisherfolk also adhere to ensure the sustainability of the industry, because it is a fragile industry.
It is. At the CRFM level, we have developed what is the gender analysis strategy and action plan that looks at mainstreaming gender equality across the entire Caribbean. But also, we are also guided by the small-scale fisheries guideline, which speaks a lot about gender and gender equality. So those are our two foundation documents that we build on. And so at our level, what we have been doing is similar to what Belize started. We must give kudos to Belize. We now are looking at doing gender work within the Caribbean. So we now have a gender focal point in each of the Caribbean countries that we always communicate with and try to push projects as it relates to gender. I want to highlight the work that is being done in Barbados by the Central Fish Processors Association, and they have been doing a lot of work. And if time permits, I would like to read a poem from one of the ladies from Barbados. And also, we are doing now work in St. Lucia and in St. Kitts and Nevis. And what we do, we start off by doing an analysis of where the women are in the value chain, what they're doing, and then try to bring the spotlight to them. But also importantly, we look at building livelihoods for these women. You talked about they are the backbone of the households, single mothers, people that they are vulnerable groups. And so we're doing some projects that looks at sea moss farming and dry fish farming. And we have done a lot of work in Belize as well to build the skills of women within our communities. And of course, we have Belize. We also, last year, we did a regional Women in Fisheries Forum, which was the first time, but this time we brought the women from the Caribbean and Latin America to start this conversation
Wonderful.
about the role of women in the fisheries sector. And from that, we did a call to action. We are saying to the government, listen, we have these documents. Let's implement these documents. Let's recognize our women. Let's look at discrimination against women within the fisheries sectors. Let's look at their working environment and see how we can improve on that. So we have just started, to be honest. There's a lot more work that we need to do across the region.
And I'm guessing that this month just provides that spotlight. Hey, listen, even more
Correct.
so, we need to look at this.
We need to look at the women in this sector.
Now, you mentioned that you have a poem from a fisherwoman in Barbados.
Right.
She wrote it.
She wrote it. She's actually, they did some theater work with the women, because, you know, women are very, we're not in the spotlight per se. And so they did some theater work with the women in Barbados to bring out, you know, some of their inner feelings. So she said one day she was sitting on the bus going to work, and she just sat and she wrote this doc. She wrote it. It's called The Fisherman's Lament, and it's by Sheena Griffiths. And she said, from early morning we get up in here. Cooking and cleaning is how we start our day. We get the children ready and we're on our way. Onto the market, hoping something there, cause we know we have bills to pay. Sometimes there's nothing, and all we can do is walk away, hoping that tomorrow would be a better day. We work, we toil for the seasons from November to June. Could be longer or shorter, cause we're moving the flying fish tune. Even when you fish, it is a bitter pill. People complain, they don't want to pay the bill. But before you'll start cast the blame, let me explain. How our day begins, out on the dock in the sun, sometimes in the rain, pulling the big box, for ice must be bought to secure our fish, to make sure that consumers can have a healthy dish. Our hard job done, on to the next, to stand up and debone flying fish. We don't want to get vexed. From 7 in the morning to 6 at night, sweating to get fish done right and tight. On our feet we stand the whole day till it's time to be on our way. We think this is the end, no me dear, cause the family, the house, and other obligation still bow there. It continues, but I don't want to spend a lot of time. Yeah. But the point is that she's looking at herself and looking at her role, but not just in the markets, but when she go home, she has to take care of the family.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, because based on it, it's talking about, you know what, there's all this preparation that she has to do before she leaves to go to the fish market for go and do work. And then when it's done from there, they're not done yet. They still have to come home and focus on making tea and all of that as well. You know?
Yeah.
And
And that's the reality of many women in several different work sectors.
Correct.
So I'm really appreciative that we're able to use this month to recognize women that are working in the fisheries sector and that are able to get some recognition for the work and for the impact that they have. So let's touch back on some of the activities that we can expect this month. I know you mentioned some of them, but I was particularly interested in a couple. So we can go over them again just so we can have an idea.
Okay, sure, no problem. So we're having the Fishers Fair in Dangriga. That should be the 24th of June. So we're inviting persons to come out and participate. It's an activity solely led by the members of the Wabafo Fishers Association. We're also having the Fisher of the Year Award on the 29th of June. That's the Caribbean Fisherfolk Day. And we're asking persons to reach out to WCS and the Fisheries Department if you know of a fisher that you would want to nominate as the Fisher of the Year Award. I mean, it's a very good recognition within the fishing community, and the prizes, I have to say, are exceptional.
Okay.
So please submit, you know, and we're accepting both video submissions and written submissions.
Can you give us an idea of what some of the prizes sound like or look like, or what were the prizes in the past?
Yes, so in the past we've had cash prizes of $3,000, hotel stay at various hotels within Belize. You know, we have, you know, various things that would attract you for being nominated for this and being recognized. Besides that, beyond that, like I said, we have the Women in Fisheries Forum that we'll be having in Sardinia this year. It's a overnight activity that we have. We're focusing on gender and livelihood. So you know, we have and it's a session specifically for women. It's a closed session, you know. So I think sometimes we get a little bit of backlash regarding that. But like I said, it's specifically for women, you know, and it, like, you know, like we've been saying, it provides that space for women to openly engage and for us to understand, for us to be able to understand what it is that they're experiencing within the sector, you know. If we focus only on one aspect of the stakeholders, then we miss out on what needs to be done in order to ensure that there's full engagement and that the sector is able to support all of those involved in it. So is there another activity?
You said something about bless the boat.
Oh yes, sorry, the blessing of the boat. Yes, so please come out. It's at we have it at National Fishermen Cooperative and as well as Northern Fishermen Cooperative. We're bringing our we're going out there, you know, along with Fisheries Department as well as with our father. We will be going out there and blessing the boats, you know, asking the Lord to grant the fishers a safe journey out to sea, a safe lobster season, you know, a productive one, you know, because as Belizeans and, you know, all the visitors that come, you know, we want to eat that nice, delicious lobster. So, you know, that is what we'll be going out there and doing, handing out some tokens for the fishers to show our appreciation for them. We'll also be doing it at Dangriga this year, again being organized by Wabafu. So we ask the fishers to go out and assemble out there, you know. So we have a productive season.
Which day is this going to take place?
So that's the 28th of June, right? So it's early morning. We go out there, you know, when everybody is packing up their ice, getting their vessels ready to head out to sea. So come out.
And then in terms of those nominations, what's the deadline for that? And I know you said video submissions or even with...
Yes, so the deadline is the 23rd of June, right? So we ask persons to submit by then.
And you're just looking for that person that maybe
well,
goes beyond...
we have a criteria. It has to be someone actively involved in the fishing sector. Obviously, you need to be a licensed commercial fisher. You're engaged with fisher organizations, whether it's your cooperative or your local fisher associations. You're playing an active role within your fishing community, whether it's, you know, advocating for the rights of your fishers, as well as engaging with the management sector, the fisheries department. You know, we also look to see if there has been any past, you know, in terms of did you commit any fisheries offense? So we also look at that as well. And how you've been able to sustain yourselves in the sector over the year. You know, when 2020 hit, there was a lot of, you know, everyone suffered during that period of time. But, you know, the fishers were still able to go out there and fish, bring that seafood back to us and support their family in, you know, in that way. So we want to see those who have had longevity within the sector.
Someone that was able to sustain themselves in the sector, but also have an inspiring story as well.
Correct.
Can we talk a little about the collaboration that has taken place with with government and all of that to ensure that, oh, you know what, there's a sustainability of the fishery sector? I know the Fisherfolk Month may not completely delve into that, because then it's about making sure that, oh, you know what, we put a spotlight on women and equality and all of that. But does this come up during this month as well, where you're talking to these fisherfolk, these women, these fisher women, and telling them, hey, you know what, you need to stay above board. You need to make sure that you abide or at least abide to the guidelines that have been set in place to ensure the longevity of the fisheries industry?
I think the WIF, to some extent, bring that forward.
Okay.
Because what it does is, it's, as I said, it is a conversation, and we try to bring, every time we have a WIF, we try to bring the policy aspects. What are the new regulations? What is being done? For us at the CRFM, we're all about sustainable fisheries and sustainable management and use of our fisheries resources. And we do that every day. That's the gospel that we preach almost every day, right? But at the WIF, what it does is that you realize that the women do not have access to information as we think they should, right? And for whatever the reasons are. And so that the WIF gives us an opportunity to start that discussion about sustainable management, to start about look at how you can diversify your livelihoods. So we start to have those conversations at that level.
And in addition to that, we're planning to have, well, this will be separate, but you know, WCS along with the Fisheries Department is planning to have a workshop this month. We're aiming before the opening of the season, which will target specifically new entrants to the sector. So persons who have been fishing, we're trying to aim persons who started back in 2020 because there was a gap during that time, and we're noticing, well, the managers, I should say, out at these reserves are noticing that we have a lot of new fishers that aren't aware of the legislation, you know, that aren't practicing stewardship, you know, respecting other fishers, their property and so on while out at sea. So we want to have that provide that space for them to become more aware exactly of what are MPAs, the network, the benefits that they provide, the legislation, because you know that's one of the biggest things they always say, they aren't aware of this, they aren't aware of that, you know, as well as, you know, building that respect among our fisher folk. You know, that's one of the biggest things I think that we, you know, that fishers also need to look at when, you know, when they're interacting with each other out at sea, because you might not necessarily have your police or your coast guard at the immediate areas, but we want to ensure that there's that type of kinship among them.
You said earlier 70 registered women.
Around 70, 78, yeah.
How do we get that number up? I don't know why I'm saying that is because
Listen,
we know that you know there's so much more than that. How do we get those numbers?
Listen, when we started with, we had most about 40 women.
Wow. So it's gone.
So now we have, once we started to spread the word and women start to come in, women now started, we insist, guys, you need to register.
Yeah.
What
as
is
fishers.
the reaction of the women when they are gathered here? I'm talking locally. What are their thoughts that you guys, you know, get?
They are so happy.
Yeah.
They look forward to this one day a year when we come together and they, you know, we talk together as women. I remember the last year when we went to Monkey River.
Yes.
Right. And we were heading back because it was the last day of the meeting and we were heading back to the bus. And they were literally sad. You know, like they were like, oh, you know, we are going back to, you know. So they look forward to, and we are happy to, and it's constantly trying to seek funding to make sure that we are able to put this program on every year.
Is there support that you're getting from the government to put this together, from international donors, things like that?
Well, we have support from the Ministry of Blue Economy and Civilization. We've received donation from them, from the Nature Conservancy, the Environmental Defense Fund. We have some private donors as well as WCS, you know, based on, you know, the activities that we carry out, our program of work, we have funding that we receive that we direct specifically towards the activities. Of course, and of course, the Caribbean Regional Fisheries Mechanism, sorry.
It's daily
Of course, we have an entire planning committee, I must say, you know, that basically guides and directs all the activities that we have for this month.
But ladies, as we wrap things up, I just want to say, you know, thank you so much for coming here and talking to us about this initiative that benefits women in the fisheries sector. Do you guys have any last words that you would like to mention?
Well, I just wanted to mention that this year is our 20th anniversary.
Oh, wow.
So we have been doing quite a bit of celebration. We started in March, and we're having a scientific meeting, and that brings everybody together, brings the knowledge together, and we're hoping that we can share that information across the region. We want to celebrate our women this year as well. We are doing a number of small little activities, but we're hoping to move it across the region. We're hoping to move it to St. Vincent, to Antigua, Anguilla, this concept that the women are important. So that is something that we're looking forward to in the future. Thanks.
Wonderful. And yourself?
Yes, so I'd like to make a special appeal to our, you know, our community, you know, to recognize the work that our fisher folk are doing, the importance of the sector, and, you know, go out and thank your fishers for the work that they're doing in terms of providing that seafood for you. So, you know, and this is, like we said, this is a month for us to recognize them, and we recognize the women as well involved in the sector. And, you know, we're looking forward to seeing you guys out at Sartineja on June 15th.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We absolutely appreciated, you know, you guys coming here and talking to us. You have any last words, please?
Yeah,
You wanted to mention
I
something?
think I saw something just now on screen in terms of Fisherfolk Month, and the theme just grabbed at me. You know, one ocean, one planet, one plate.
Yes.
You know, uniting aquatic food standards and ocean health. I like that because something.
One. We're all one.
We're all one.
Perfect
You know?
way to close.
Yes.
Thank you so much. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, it's all about the Father's Day dance,
Yeah.
and we have
Dara.
Dara, Cyber Home Theater, talking to us about what we can expect.
Yeah.